I'm Brint Spencer. I'm the director here at the Brandywine Zoo in Wilmington, Delaware.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. All right, y'all, so this is the last interview episode of Season 6 of Rossifari, and I'm really excited that we're coming to the end of another season. Now, y'all know me, and y'all know that just means that we'll be back on Friday with Zoo News, and then we'll come back with another interview episode on Tuesday and be like, hey, it's Season 7, it's magic. But, you know, nothing will have really changed. But still, I always like to end my seasons with a bang. And so I thought this was the perfect time to drop this episode. My interview today is with Brint, who is the director of Brandywine Zoo. And Brint has been on before, and I am a just big fan of the way that he talks about things and approaches things. Brandywine is such a cool zoo. They're doing animal encounters now for the first time, including lemur, anteater, and red panda. And you know, I got to do all of those, so you'll hear me talking about that. And we talk about a lot of things: leadership, conservation, just all the good things. It's really great. The other reason that this is such a great time to drop this episode is that Brandywine actually just opened a brand new multi-species habitat. And they were in the late construction phase when I went there and recorded this. So it's really cool because you'll get to hear about this brand new habitat that is now open at the zoo and the thought process that went into it and all of that good stuff. So I'm very excited to share all of that with y'all. Before we get to it, however, I do want to remind you to hit the subscribe button or whatever button you have on your player to make sure you don't miss any episodes of Rossifari. And also follow along on the socials at Rossifari Pod on the TikTok machine, patreon.com/Rossifari to support the podcast. And there's a Discord that we have now, a Discord server. And you can go and join a conversation about the episodes and zoos and so much more. You can even go and see pictures that I and some of the listeners have taken at various zoos recently, from all around the globe, actually. It's pretty darn cool. So check that out. The link is in the show notes. And with all of that said, let's get to it. Here is my interview with Brint from Brandywine Zoo. Welcome back.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah. So, It's been a minute since you've been on the pod, and a lot of things have changed here, and a lot of things are evolving, which I love to see. And so we have a couple different things we want to talk about, but of course, I'm me. So the first thing I have to do is bring up red pandas again. And we got to spend some time with the pandas today. It was very exciting. Sherman is still here, who has been here for ages, but tell me about the new girl and how things are going in Panda Town.
Panda Town is going well. And one of the things we started doing last year, we do animal encounters now.
Yes.
And we have guests come in and they have an opportunity to have an up-close encounter with pandas, our lemurs, or the giant anteater. And pandas are by far the most popular option that we have.
Shocker.
And it's interesting, you know, located where we are, we have had people come from South Carolina up through New York to do our panda encounters. We've had 2 wedding proposals at our panda encounters. So it's interesting what a cult species that really has come to be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the term before, and I'm just being nice not saying it, but fandas are crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we are. I'll admit it. I even look at what goes on in some of the red panda fan communities, and I'm like, guys, calm down.
Had a colleague that I've known for decades, and his daughter, one of her goals was to see all the panda exhibits in the country. So she flew from Texas up to, I believe she came into either New York or Philly did the New York, New Jersey, Philly, Brandywine Zoos, National Zoo, and then flew back to Texas again. So that was knocking off a section of the exhibits that she had to cover.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special. So how are the encounters? Are people enjoying them? Are they getting one? I mean, I just got to do one, so I know. But for my listeners,
people love them.
Yeah,
and being able to see an animal like that up close in a non-anthropomorphic way is something that we're looking for. And the more people know about the animals, the more they appreciate them, enjoy them. And this is an opportunity for them to have that close experience. So yes, they're very popular. Once we start putting them up on the website for people to purchase tickets, began to sell out pretty quickly. And the others are starting to come along. And Anteater, I think, is starting to make a move up as people start to really understand what a giant anteater is, the opportunity to see that 2-foot tongue in a clear acrylic tube. That's something that people find really interesting.
For sure. Well, so that's one of the interesting things to me is obviously I am a huge fan of pandas, but you were kind enough to, I got to do all of the experiences today, and I have to say that in order of coolness, it was very much anteater, followed closely by lemur, and then panda. And don't get me wrong, I had a great time over at Panda, but the anteaters are so cool and weird, and they're just such a weird animal, right? And the individual here does such a great job using his feet to get up a little bit. And like you said, the clear acrylic tongue. So you watch that tongue go. I've even fed anteaters before, but I've never done it that way. And I've never seen that. That was so cool. I could have stood there all day just watching that tongue go.
It's fascinating. And anteaters look like when all the other animals were made, you had a pile of leftover parts and you pushed them together and you came up with a giant anteater. And the head doesn't match the body, doesn't match the tail, doesn't match the claws on the legs. And so it's just a real mishmash of animals, but they've always been one of my favorite animals. And the fact that they can swim and they bathe with regularity, and there's just so much about them. And as you pointed out, when he stands up against the mesh and you get to see, those big claws on that front leg, and you realize, okay, this animal, really could rip open a termite mound.
Yeah.
And now I understand why. So yeah, it's a good opportunity for people to understand the natural history of the animal, and as well as getting to have a fun experience with the animal.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think getting to experience animals, not only just up close, but getting to experience what makes them cool and unique really helps people fall in love with them. Like I always liked binturongs. Like I have for a long time since I found out about them. But the first time that I had one on my shoulder and then felt the prehensile tail and the way that it moves, I have understood logically what a prehensile tail is my whole, adult life. But you don't. You don't until you feel all the little muscles and the way that they move them. And it's very different than like what I would have thought, which is something kind of like how we move our arms or whatever, And then once I experienced that, how could I not be completely in love with them? Because that's just the coolest thing ever.
Absolutely. And it's that interaction, and again, in a non-anthropomorphic way, that you get to appreciate the animal and how well it's adapted for where it lives. That prehensile tail has a purpose. The anteater's tongue has a purpose.
Yeah.
Claws have a purpose. And when you get to see that, you understand why that animal functions the way it does. And that's for me, the fun and fascinating part. And you're absolutely right. You can see or read, even a video is not the same as getting that, be up close with that animal and see and hear and feel it right in front of you. And that's something that television and video will never be able to capture.
Yep. And now AI is trying, and it's just the biggest joke, I just
agree completely.
Yeah. I'm so entertained by some of the things that I see. And then you come here and you just feed an anteater, and it's astonishing. And there are probably not a lot of people out there that get to have as many animal encounters with different types as I do, but I found them all to be breathtaking here. We talked a little bit about anteater, but you also have some exciting news going on with the lemurs right now. So want to talk about that?
Sure. We have a baby crown lemur. Right now, I believe there are 33 crown lemurs in the country. We have 4 here at the zoo, including our new baby. And this is the 4th baby that we've produced here. So our pair has been very successful. Our exhibit has been very successful. Our staff have done a great job. Fortunately, mom's a good mom, so all we have to do is monitor.
Right.
But it's been a very successful program for us. And I think, again, it's that type of thing where I can tell you that the baby hangs on mom when she moves around and you have a mental image. But when you come here and watch Sophie running through the exhibit with that baby hanging on, it's a very different impression of what a wild animal is capable of doing. You know, as a parent, my kids didn't hang on that well when they were little. It would have been nice if they did. It would have made my life a whole lot easier.
For sure, yeah. No, yeah, and you're absolutely right. Again, that's the first time I've ever been up close to a baby lemur clinging on mom like that. And again, just breathtaking. Like you said, I don't even know how to describe it because I'm trying to describe it while saying you can't really describe how impressive it is. But Sophie was just moving and like just completely natural. And it looked like she was wearing a belt.
Yep.
And the belt had a face, a really cute little face. And it was just baby completely latched on there. And I mean, y'all listening, most of you have seen lemurs and have seen how lemurs move. And she just does it. She just does the thing at speed. And it's incredible to watch. Yeah. I was blown away by how cool that was.
And that little belt, those eyes are focusing on everything going on around it. So
Yep.
it's a lot of fun. And it's fun watching the visitors when they discover it. And often you have to point it out because if she's not sitting with the baby facing towards you, you will miss it. But when the visitors get to see that little baby, it's really cute.
Yeah.
So we'll have the baby out, the group of crown lemurs out for several more weeks. And then when we reach a point where the baby's starting to come off mom, we'll bring them back inside because the mesh on the exhibit is large enough and the baby's small enough that the baby could potentially go through the mesh.
Sure.
So rather than risk that, we'll bring them in. And keepers last year were really creative, and the mesh on the exhibit is 2 inches. So they put a milk crate and then the holding with 2-inch mesh on it with favorite foods in there. And once the baby couldn't go through the mesh to get the favorite foods, we decided it was safe enough to put it back out again. So
I really like that. That's really great.
Keepers are dedicated, passionate, and also really creative in so many different aspects of their job. So it's fun to watch.
Oh, that's one of the things that I've always liked about here. And you and I have talked about this on the podcast, but also off. We've met up at AZA multiple times and stuff. You generally let your keepers have a lot of freedom within the context of course, good husbandry, taking care of things, AZA, you know, all those things. But you give your keepers a lot of freedom to do those kinds of things and come up with things. And I think that's incredibly important. And I think it's rare sometimes.
It's important because, you know, basically we're developing the next generation of animal care managers. And you have to take calculated risks. When I first came here, we had an exhibit that had a pair of bald eagles in it. And there were a couple of ravens that were available. And I suggested putting ravens in there. And the keepers were concerned about this. And I said, 2 species coexist in the wild. Let's try it and see what happens. And a little bit of squabbles back and forth. And then everybody established, and that was fine. And then we moved sandhill crane in there, and everybody reproportioned themselves. And then we put a group of snowy egrets in there, and everybody reproportioned themselves again. And we ended up with a mixed exhibit that was a much better exhibit for the guests than what we started with initially, with 2 non-releasable eagles in it. And so those are the experiences that we try. Our lemur exhibit that we were just talking about, we've got 3 species of lemurs in there. Only the crowns are reproductive. We've got a group of radiated tortoises in there, and we've got some guinea fowl in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people the lemur group is like having 9 brothers and sisters. I love you today, I hate you tomorrow. You're stealing my food, I'll steal your food. And then everything's fine after that. And so you get those squabbles, and you allow the staff to work through that. And for me, watching the lemur births that we've had, the staff has gotten much more comfortable managing the group of animals as they've gone on. The first baby that we had, we didn't put the baby out until the following spring. Second year, we held the baby in for 2 weeks, put the baby with its mom and dad out by themselves, left the ringtails and the black and white ruffs in, and would alternate the 2 species. Then we started combining all 3 species. This year, I think we kept the crowns in for 5 days, made sure we had a healthy, solid baby, put them out, gave them a day, put them out with the ruffs the next day, put them out with the rings the day after that. So our staff has grown to the point that they're much more comfortable in their lemur husbandry and lemur management. So it's allowing them to, not me to say when I think the lemurs should or shouldn't go out, but what do you guys think? How are we going to do this?
Right. Yeah, and that's really important. That's really cool. So for those listening who are interested in this experience, we talked a little bit about what you get to do with the anteater, but what and again, we got to do this. This was fun. But you tell them what they can expect when they come and do a lemur encounter.
When we do the lemur encounters, we've got 3 species out there. We do a feeding at one of the service gates in the exhibit, and typically multiple animals will come down for feeding. So you have an opportunity to feed the crowns, the black and white ruffs, and the ringtails. And depending on how everybody is behaving on the day, we will sometimes have a keeper go and pull some of the group around the corner and feed. So you're not being completely mobbed and we don't get squabbles. But it gives you an opportunity to see the animals up close. Right now you can see the baby up close. One of the things we talk about with everybody who wants lemurs for a pet, you get to see how big those canine teeth really are and why this might not be something that you would want in your house. We manage our animals through the mesh. So, keepers do go in with them, but public experience is through the mesh so that we don't have to deal with any injuries. But it's an opportunity to see them up close. Keepers have a lot of information on the individual animals and their behavior, but also the natural history of the animals.
Yeah. And that's my favorite part when today was, I don't need the natural history on these animals. I know about anteaters. I know about lemurs. I've heard
definitely know about pandas.
Yeah. But the entire experience was spent talking about the individuals, which is what I really care about at this point. So that was like magical to me because I will sit and learn about an individual animal all day, every day, and the various keepers that were involved just had a ton of information. And also you could just tell, and I mean, I realize this is literally why I made this podcast, but I'm always still amazed at just how passionate they care so much about these animals,
Absolutely they are. And for me, it's fun because I don't have the relationship with the animals that they do. And if there needs to be a decision made based on an animal's personality, I'm going to look to the keepers to help with that. Ultimately, I'm responsible, but they're the ones who have that knowledge. Right. And try and get them involved as much as possible. When we do exhibit designs, I have drawings on the table in my office so that anybody's welcome to come in and look and see, what do you see that I don't that'll make this a better space? And some choose to participate and some choose not to. And I wish when I was a keeper, I had paid more attention to stuff like that so that I would have more knowledge.
Sure.
Never have enough knowledge.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's very cool. With discussing, having plans for a new exhibit, y'all are currently building a new exhibit. And I know it'll be ready later this summer.
Correct.
And so we'll probably drop this episode to celebrate that coming out. So talk about what's in the new exhibit.
We're looking at our new exhibit, tentatively scheduled to open on July 23rd. We've got a mixed species exhibit again. That'll be South American. So we'll have a bachelor group of squirrel monkeys in there. Right now we're looking at 5 animals. We'll have a green iguana, prehensile tail porcupine, 2 Patagonian mara, and red-footed tortoises. And with a lot of our exhibits, we try and have some conservation messaging going behind it. And for me in this one, it's going to be the pet trade. And the iguana that we have is a confiscated animal that was brought to us by the State Department of Agriculture. They seized some reptiles from an individual. So this gives us an opportunity to grow up a male green iguana so that when people see a 5-foot lizard in a tree, maybe it'll make them think twice about getting that little green iguana that they see at a pet shop or a reptile show. Squirrel monkeys are not as much of a pet item now as they used to be. But when I was a kid, you could buy squirrel monkeys in the back of a comic book for $13.
Oh my gosh.
And that included the cage, the leash, and a toy.
Oh, perfect.
Exactly.
Everything you need?
Says, just like a little human loves to eat lollipops.
Okay.
So, that's the information. That's the message that we want people to take away from this. Most of the animals that you're going to come and see at the zoo don't make good pets, aren't animals that you want to have in your home. And, come and appreciate them at the zoo, but don't keep them at home.
Yeah, no, that's really important messaging. And I like that. I remember when I came here, when y'all opened Madagascar, and you talked about all of the exhibit design stuff that was built around messaging. And I know that's very important here. And I think that's very cool. What led you to make the decision to do South America?
Just animal availability, to be blunt about it. I mean, we got funding for the project kind of late, so it was a little bit of a scramble to figure out what we wanted to put in there. And again, we were looking for a mixed species exhibit. As a very small facility, the mixed species gives us the opportunity to have more animals here for people to see. Plus, it's enrichment for the animals themselves. So we're enriching the visitors, we're enriching the animals themselves. And then I think working with new species is important for the keeper staff also. So it's enriching for them to have an opportunity to work with multiple species.
Yeah, for sure. I love mixed species exhibits, like always. Like I know that you can't do it with all animals, but anytime I see one, I get very excited about it. So yeah, I'm glad that y'all went that way.
It's new opportunities, and that's what we try and do.
Yeah, very cool. Now I know the last time I was here, I was pushing, trying to get you to get some tree kangaroos in there, but you know.
It was a consideration. There were some costs challenges for the project that unfortunately, it was going to price us out for what our budget was.
Yeah, that's fair. But I like that you listened and tried and looked into it. That actually is kind of cool.
Well, again, I mean, anything's an option. So when we were designing the space, we knew roughly what the space was. So I have a dry erase board in my office. So I broke it down into columns of geographic regions and then horizontally by arboreal and terrestrial exhibits. And I sent an email out to the staff and I said, you know what the space is going to be like? What options do we have? And it was really fun to watch some of the suggestions that came in.
That's awesome. Yeah. Again, just the way that you involve everyone. And I feel like it's a lot easier at a small facility. Obviously, you can't, the Columbus Zoo director can't just talk to every keeper there. Not going to happen, right? But I love that you're able to do that, but also that you do, because honestly, you don't have to. I love the attitude that you bring towards towards that in general and towards the keeper staff and the training aspect of it and all of that. I've always been really impressed by that here.
We've got a really good staff. We've had a really good staff for a long time. And it's always interesting for me. I really like it when staff that we trained here or other facilities that I've worked at go on and do good things in other places. And, when I have a former keeper that goes on to be an SSP coordinator or something like that, that makes me feel really good.
Yeah,
so
that's really cool.
Like I said, we're training the next generation of animal managers, and it's fun when you see it succeed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. So, so many things to talk about. I guess another thing that we need to touch on is that since the last time I was here, another new species has come to the zoo that I am losing my mind about, which is that you have a binturong here now. So go ahead and tell me about your little bowl of popcorn.
Well, we had a sibling pair initially, and she has moved on to be a breeder elsewhere. And again, it's one of those animals that people don't really know about. And so as we do collection planning here, we go back and forth between trying to pick animals that people are going to have some species name recognition for and want to come and visit.
Right.
And then species that people don't know anything at all about. And when we opened Madagascar, it was shortly after the movie Madagascar had come out. So everybody knew what a ring-tailed lemur was.
Smart.
Everybody knew King Julian. Kids would run down the pathway, Julian.
Right.
It's like, that worked. And then we brought the Bints in. That's something that people don't really know about. Mm-hmm. I mean, zoo people do, but the common people don't. And, our animal sits up on a shelf, doesn't move a whole lot, and people get to see that. But then when they get to see him move, and you see how big he really is, and you see how big that prehensile tail is, and you watch him hang on with the prehensile tail as he moves across the mesh, that's a whole different experience.
Yep.
So it's a different, unique animal that people enjoy seeing. Now we just have to get the same cult following going for binturongs that we have for red pandas.
Working on it.
Appreciate that. That's for sure.
And I think, it is so cool. And I mean, I was so lucky when I first got here. Tang was literally walking across the ceiling.
Yep.
And I don't care how many times I've seen it. It's magical. And they're so big and so goofy and I was so happy. I actually, I was coming to meet up with you. And I'm usually, when I am in Rossifari mode, and especially if I'm going to be the director of a zoo, now we're friends, but, still, like, I'm trying to be very professional. I get to places on time. Stop by Panda for like a second to say hi quick. But then when I saw him doing that, I was like, Brint can wait. I don't care. Like, I'm not
No offense taken. I'll play second fiddle to the Bint anytime. And you're right. You see those things, and there's certain things that no matter how many times you see it, it's just something about it that just makes you pause. And, for me, I'm a rank amateur birder, but for several years now, we've had a couple of osprey that have been hanging out in front of the zoo.
Nice.
And I'll be walking through the zoo and you hear that single note call that they do. And I just stop. It's like, have to locate the bird and just watch that. And it happens all summer long, but I will stop every time I hear that. And it's just fun to see.
Yeah, special things are special. We had, back when Zoe and I lived right outside of Philly in Ardmore, we had foxes around, and they had kits every year, and they would literally be like in our front yard. We set up, we got a small camera trap and set one up in our front yard just to watch foxes at night sometimes. And it was, how can you not be in love with these just incredible animals,
I had the same experience. The house that I live in is out in the woods, and I've worked with multiple fox species over the years. So a fox is a fox is a fox. But for several years now, I've had a pair that have denned up under my front porch. So I'll go out at night and sit on the porch with a beer and just no radio, no music, no computer, no nothing, and just watch the kids come out and play in the yard. And that's a blast.
Yeah, that's amazing. I will tell you, I told this story a long time ago on here, but I have a lot of new listeners. They haven't heard this. So just real quick, just a complete aside, but since we're talking foxes, the first time I ever heard a fox mating cry, it sounds like a young girl screaming for help. And the place that we lived at the time, there was a college across a large field from us. And I woke up at about 3:00 in the morning, and I heard what was clearly a maybe college-age girl or younger screaming for help in the field. So I was sleeping in like a pair of shorts, maybe my boxers, I don't know. And I jumped out of bed and I took off running at full speed. And I ran out there and I'm looking around and I'm like, hey, can I help you? Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm standing out there in my underwear like a crazy person. And then I go back inside when I see nobody, right? I mean, I was out there for like 5 minutes looking around, right? I was really going to help this person. And I walk back in and I get back into bed and Zoe just goes, I didn't expect you to run out just to try and see a fox. Did you see it? And I was like, oh, okay. I thought I was like being a superhero, but
I've got 2 rescue cats at home, and when the fox calls at night, it used to be that they would jump up and growl, and this would put them on alert. And now it's just sort of like, oh, raise their head, look, go back down. But I still get excited about it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I've got a pair of pileated woodpeckers that come to the suet feeders in front of my kitchen window now. And they're there almost daily. And I still get excited every time I see a bird that big come in and hang on one of those little 6-inch suet feeders.
Yeah, that's really cool. Very nice. So one of the things that you showed me today that I want to talk about, terrible transition, but whatever, is y'all are doing some really cool conservation work with a species that I love, which are bog turtles. And can you talk about what you're doing and why it's important and all of that?
Sure. We have been working with Delaware Fish and Wildlife this is our 5th season now. And bog turtles are an endangered species in the state. Several years ago, there's only 2 populations of bog turtles. The nesting area flooded, so a population that they're managing very closely. They had very poor recruitment rate that year. So we were asked if we would be interested in incubating eggs. And I said, yes, of course. So next year, they brought in half of the nests that they found. We incubated the eggs, and they were released. This is our 5th season now. We've hatched out 96 bog turtles for the state. As of last year, there were 22 known adults in the state. Last year, we hatched out 34 eggs.
That's amazing.
So we had and still have more baby bog turtles in our animal care center than there are known adults in the state. And it's been a real fun partnership because it's, again, a good opportunity for staff to participate in real conservation. We are now head starting the animals. We grow them up, hold them for a year. If the animals are large enough, which is about 6 centimeters, for the state to put transponders on there, they can put transponders on there so that they can track the turtles through the marshes and get some data on what juvenile bog turtles are doing in the state. It's a fun project for us. It's a valuable project for the state. Last year, they had 4 3-year-old bog turtles that they were able to catch in their live traps. And 3 years is about the age that the turtles are large enough and strong enough to get into the traps. That was the first year that we were hatching and releasing turtles. So we don't know with 100% certainty, but we're pretty confident that all of those animals were our release animals.
That's just incredible.
That's such a good feeling because
Yeah.
you do these projects, you put the animals out, you hope they do well, but now we're starting to get some confirmation of that. So last week we got our first bog turtle nest of the season. We got our second clutch today. We also got a clutch of spotted turtles. So this will give us an opportunity to hatch out a second species of turtle as part of this project that we're working on with the state. Something that you didn't get to see that we did last year that we're hoping to do this year, there's a population of copperheads that are in Alapoca State Park, just up the river from us. And last year we caught 10 copperheads, put transponders in them so that the state could track copperhead migration through movement through the park. And it was interesting how much those snakes moved through the park. So it's a fun project. We also put transponders in 22 tiger salamanders.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So once the state found out that we have a veterinary facility here where we can do this work a lot easier and safer than what they were doing previously, the state's taken fun advantage, Fish and Wildlife's taking fun advantage of our facilities, and we get to help in some local conservation projects. So it's a whole fun project that we've got going with Fish and Wildlife, and the cooperation between Division of Parks and Division of Fish and Wildlife has been wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that kind of thing. And that's one of the things I think zoos in the AZA don't get enough credit for. There's a lot of conversation around the few species that have been completely reintroduced to the wild. And zoos have saved, brought back Przewalski's horses and, California condors, stuff like that. But the head starting programs are making it so that you don't need to reintroduce a species, and I just don't see that getting nearly as much press as I think it should. I love featuring those kinds of stories.
I agree, and I'll take that a step further and go native species.
Yeah.
And native species, both in terms of conservation and in terms of exhibitry, people look for the exotics. And, there's a lot of native species that are really interesting. And, we're hoping to reconfigure some stuff here, but I would love to turn our education building into a conservation center. And we can put bog turtles, copperheads, tiger salamanders, songbirds in there and talk about the work that we're doing actually in the field. Our conservation science learning staff go out and do monarch butterfly work and songbird work, and have been involved in the bat white nose syndrome work at Fort Delaware State Park. So we're expanding our reach throughout the state, in addition to conservation projects that we support internationally. But we're actually doing that work on the ground in the state of Delaware to help with the species here.
Yeah, I think that's incredible and fascinating. And honestly, I didn't grow up that far away from here. Like I said, about 2 hours, and I didn't know growing up that there were things like salamanders in the areas around me, and even like beavers and stuff. Like I just didn't know. And I went to a lot of zoos, saw a whole lot of cool exotic animals, but I wish growing up I had known about as much of the native wildlife as there is around me, because it goes back to that magical feeling, and I'm playing a show right now at Totem Pole Playhouse, which is in Caledonia State Park in Pennsylvania. And there's a creek that literally runs right by the theater. It goes behind the theater. So every single day before the show and before, during intermission, I go out to that creek and I just sit there and I just stare. And I see birds and I keep looking for turtles. I haven't seen any yet, or salamanders. I don't go digging around, but I mean, even in the 15 minutes between acts of that show, I am out there just, even if I don't see them, knowing that they are there, knowing that there are probably crayfish in that water, that there's probably a salamander nearby, a box turtle watching me, it lifts my spirits so much. And then everything I do see, whether it's a dragonfly or the birds that fly by, oh my gosh, it's just the best feeling. And when I was growing up, I was outside a lot and I just didn't know what was around me, Well,
it's interesting for us because we're located in Wilmington. We are in the city of Wilmington. Yeah. And the river is right in front of us. And Wilmington was developed because of the water and because of the Delaware blue rock that we have here. So there was a lot of mill industry here. So along the river, there are mill races on both sides of the river. It's the one on this side in front of the zoo has been filled in. The mill race on the opposite side is still there and operated by the state parks. And if we have a storm coming in, they will drain the mill race just to prevent waters from going down and flooding. And on two occasions, they've had a beaver that fell into the mill race, and we've been called out to go over and net the beaver out and put it back in the river. And people don't realize that we have those animals here. And as an animal person, I can say it's wonderful to have them, but listening to the people that manage the park around us, they're not big fans of the beaver because the beaver come out, and right in front of the zoo is the Josephine Fountain, which goes back to, I believe, 1928. I may be mistaken on that. But there's also a row of historic cherry trees there. And the beaver will come up out of the river and work on the cherry trees. So park staff has had to go out and put caging around the base of the cherry trees to try and keep the beaver from gnawing down the trees.
That's funny. Yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating.
And we've had otters at the Hagley Museum, which is maybe 2 miles upstream from us, and in the river and in the mill race. So it's nice to know that animals like that are surviving even in our urban environment.
Yeah, that is really cool. I've never seen an otter in the wild, which amazes me because I've gone canoeing and stuff, and I've never seen one. I would lose my mind because there's something so special about seeing even something that you've seen in a zoo a million times.
Yep.
And there's just something extra special about it. The first time I saw a North American porcupine just chilling in New Hampshire, lost my mind. As though I have not met dozens of ambassador North American porcupines over the years, lost my mind, pulled over the car and just sat and stared. I was so happy.
I did the same thing with black-billed magpies.
Yeah.
Worked with them in zoos on a number of occasions and was out in Denver years ago. And I think the first exhibit when you came into the zoo was pronghorn. And there were probably 30 magpies scavenging in the exhibit. And I just not used to seeing them out in the wild.
Yeah.
Snorkeling in Hawaii years ago and seeing yellow tang. Again, fish that I've worked with in aquarium work. Never saw them in the wild before, but that was special to really see them schooling out there.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime I've seen a sea turtle in the wild, same thing. I'm just like, and I will travel to aquariums just to see one sea turtle. I will travel hundreds of miles. But it's all just so special. Yeah. Very cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about going on here, or stuff that you want, anything Brandywine wise?
Well, the new exhibit that we've got coming on is our big excitement for this year. We still do our events. We do sip and strolls on Wednesday night a month during the summer. Opportunity for people to come out and see the zoo in the cool of the evening and have a more relaxed experience. Have a beer, have a glass of wine, and enjoy the animals in the cool of the evening. We're, looking forward to fall now with our Boo events, and those are coming up. So the new exhibit this year will be the big one that comes up.
Yeah, it's exciting. Very cool. I want to come to one of the sip and strolls. I've always wanted to, and it's never, when I'm around, I've never been able to. But one of these years we'll get out there.
They're on the zoo's website.
Oh, I know.
It's a wonderful event. And again, being able to see the zoo in the cool of the evening is a really nice opportunity.
Yes. I always talk, anytime anyone can go to any zoo for anything in the evening, go. It's a completely different experience, and it's so cool. And I love it. Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Is there a conservation organization that you would like to give a shout out to?
There's so many.
I know.
There's several here that the zoo here supports. One of the programs that we support in South America is Project Selva.
Okay.
And this is run through the San Antonio Zoo. And Dr. Dante Fenolio is the one who's running this program. And one of the things I try and do with the conservation programs that we have here at the zoo is they have to involve not only the animal of interest, but they have to involve the people in the area. And Dante's program works with habitat preservation and works with the people in the area. And they do a number of different things to help the people. They will take objects that the indigenous people make, bring them back and sell them in their gift shop. So these are products that are non-invasive, so balsa trees. They will do carvings out of wood that they harvest. They've now started working on fish prints. So they brought a Japanese fish artist over to the upper Amazon and taught people how to make fish rubbings.
Nice.
So the villagers are catching the fish. These are fish that they're going to eat. But before they eat them, they will paint the fish with a non-toxic paint and then do prints off of those. And those prints get sold, and then the fish is consumed by the villagers. So it's the type of project that helps both the animals and the people.
That's awesome.
And one of the things that Dante did during COVID, when people weren't traveling, they were still funding people down there. So they were sending food and medicine down to the villagers there because they had lost their source of income since tourists weren't going down there. So it's not always that we're taking things out of these areas. We're helping to put back. So that's one of the projects that we support here at the zoo.
Cool. Very good.
It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
I worked with a veterinarian years ago, and he knew I was a reptile person, and he was describing, they were working on a king cobra. They had it down. He was wearing a pair of loafers, and as he leaned forward, the heel of his foot came out of his loafer, and the snake's tail crossed across, and the snake pooped into his shoe.
Oh, no.
So finished up with the snake, went to put his foot down, and had a wet blob of king cobra poop in the back of his shoe.
No, that's That's a really funny story. I like that a lot.
And a really nasty poop when it comes out too.
Oh gosh, that's amazing. And then I'm going to keep bugging you until, eventually you sign on to Safe Binturong, just so you know.
And get tree kangaroos. I know, we're never going to get rid of you.
Thanks for taking the time, man.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Y'all, you have to get yourselves to Brandywine Zoo and do some of these experiences and see the incredible keeper staff and oh my gosh, red pandas and binturongs and a new habitat and just all the things. Get thee to Brandywine. It is a very cool, very little, but very lovely zoo. The conservation work, it's so good. I love it so much. So that's it for this season's interview episodes. And Zoo News on Friday will be the last episode of the season. But before I get to that, I do want to say thank you to all of you for being here and to all of my patrons for supporting the pod, and especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, Kevin Williams, and Cormac McMuffin, who I recently met in person and got to hang out with, and it was fabulous. Or, as I would say to Cormac, meow. And with all that said, we'll be back on Friday. But until then, remember, friends, the word credits backwards is Steiderk.
The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.